to our special interview with Irish Paralympian Sarah Slattery, who has kindly joined us as we continue our coverage of Women in Sport Week in Ireland and as we build towards International Women's Day for 2025. Sarah, thanks very much for joining us. And how are things?
Great. Thanks very much for having me on, Ian. It's great to be here. I'm back in Ireland and the sun is shining. So I'm happy the Savona's out in the field now with no rug on. So there seems to be an end in sight to the winter. So yeah, I think we can all, as horse people, be happy for that.
Yeah, you've brought the sunshine back from Doha, where you've been recently competing. But I want to kind of give our viewers a little bit of an insight into yourself and maybe how you got into the sport, what kind of grade of para dressage you compete in, and just a little bit of the background as to how you get into it. So I suppose you do come from a jumping family, and that was maybe how it all started.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, Tom, is an Irish international show jumper. So when we were brought up, it was horses full time. We basically lived out in the yard. And there was a pony there. There was always, yeah, it was our hobbies was the horses. So there's basically no getting away from it, even if I wanted to. But yeah, I suppose moving into the para kind of side of it, when I was 8 years old, I got cancer in my left arm, and the type of cancer was it attached itself to the muscles and ligaments and tendons in my left arm. So to remove the tumor, they had to remove like that again, muscles, ligaments, tendons in my left arm. And there was actually a chance that I could lose the arm. But thankfully, we had a great plastic surgeon. He was able to replace a lot of the stuff from my legs. So, like a lot of tendons and ligaments were taken from my legs and put into my arm. But because obviously it's not the same, I have reduced mobility, function, strength. I can't make a fist. I can't stretch out my fingers. My fingers kind of work as one. You know, I can't kind of point with one. It's kind of all as a whole. But like that, thankfully, I was able to keep the arm, and it made a big difference to me, I think, in the long run. But again, like I said, coming from a horsey family, it was straight back on the horse or the pony after we got the all clear from the doctor, and yeah, I was back out riding again. I used back then that we used like a webbed rein so that I was able to hold them. They were kind of a bit thicker and had kind of big kind of nodules on it. And thankfully, as the years have gone on, companies have invented reins with loops in them. So I'm able to actually hold the reins and they don't slip through my hands or anything like that. But yeah, when I was riding when I was younger, it was kind of all for fun. There was the para dressage kind of never came into my brain. It was more of a hobby. I was terrible at seeing a stride. I was very fearful of show jumping, so I was never going to make it in the family or follow on the great tradition of show jumping. I've left that to my sister Sophie. She's flying the flag there. But yeah, for me it was always as a fun hobby thing. Yeah, it was never anything I took seriously.
And how much do you remember? And what were the emotions? I suppose as an 8-year-old, it was probably pretty terrifying to
Yeah.
go through that, and maybe having the fears of you might lose your arm or whatever it is. I can't imagine it was too difficult or too sorry. I can't imagine it was too easy. It was very difficult.
Yeah. Listen, absolutely. But like I say to a lot of people, I think if it happened to me now, I wouldn't have the same resilience. I think when we're kids, it's a kind of okay, you're sick or something happens to you, but you get up and go. You still, I was more worried. I had a tube inserted. It's like an IV tube that they put into you to give you the cancer drug, so they don't have to put you on an IV every time you go on. And I wasn't allowed to swim with it because it was basically like an open wound on my chest. And I was more worried about when this thing was going to come out so that I could go swim
Or
with
to
my
go
friends at
swimming.
the weekend.
Yeah.
Like it's when you're a kid, you don't think about
Yeah, the
things
implications
like that.
maybe of yeah.
Absolutely. And because of the family that I came from, because of my mum especially and my dad, like it was, you'd be fine. Come on, get up, let's go out with the horses again. They never wrapped me up in cotton wool. They never said I wasn't allowed to do this or I wasn't allowed to get back on the horses. It was like, you know, straight back out and do it. And I'm so thankful for that, because I never felt like, oh, I can't do something because of my arm. I always felt, okay, there's a way around it. We'll figure it out and we'll get it done. You know, I'm still lifting bags of feed and everything else. You know, there was no there was no getting
Yeah.
out of the job, so there wasn't. Still had to wash dishes, and yeah. Um, so while I
But that
definitely
builds a
think,
certain resilience, I suppose, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely,
Not being
absolutely.
mollycoddled maybe because of what
No,
we've gone through.
yeah, and I probably, would have been nice maybe to have a bit of mollycoddling, but that wasn't going to happen, so it wasn't. Yeah, so for me, I listen. Absolutely, it affected you. Do you know, you're in a hospital, you're getting chemotherapy, you're really sick from it. It was a really horrible time, and I still don't like going into hospitals. I still hate the smell of hospitals. And like it definitely has a bit of a psychological effect. But I do think having that resilience and kind of family support behind me kind of outweighed that, and yeah, definitely kind of made sure that just because I have this disability doesn't mean that it's going to affect me for life, you know.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit then about how you got into paradressage, or when it kind of came onto your radar.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like that, family, everything. I went to college. I had my first daughter, Harlow, so I kind of had gotten out of horses for a while, and it wasn't until we moved back to Galway, um, God, maybe about 7, 8 years ago now, that I actually got another horse. I'd been out with for a good while, and I really only wanted to do a bit of riding club. I actually thought I was going to go back show jumping because that's obviously all I knew. Um, so I got
You couldn't see a stride, probably.
no, no, I couldn't, like, literally like crying going into the arena because I was so scared to jump around 80 centimeters. But like I still thought, but this is all you can do, you know. There's only show jumping. But yeah, I joined the local riding club, and actually, what's great about the riding club shows is a lot of them, the winter leagues, they have the show jumping and they run dressage all at the same competition. So I used to enter the dressage then as kind of my warm up for the show jumping, or the nice bit. And I actually kind of started winning more and more and started really enjoying the dressage portion, obviously more than the show jumping. I wasn't crying every time I was going into the dressage arena. um, so I like that. I did that maybe for about 2 years, and kind of then, got into the Dressage Ireland. And then when I looked to join Dressage Ireland, I realized that I couldn't use my looped reins in the able-bodied dressage test. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I actually can't ride properly without them. And I had heard of para dressage and para equestrian Ireland before, but I hadn't really kind of looked too much into it. And actually thought that paradressage were for people that were extremely disabled, that were for people maybe in wheelchairs, and I thought, well, that's not me. I'm not disabled enough to be a
Yeah.
paradressage rider. Um, but actually, when I looked into it and I spoke to Para Equestrian Ireland, they were super amazing and super informative about it all. And I realised that I could go for a classification with Paralympics Ireland, and that would allow me then to ride with my looped reins in the dressage test. And I thought, okay, this is amazing. So went and did that, and I got classified then as a grade 5 rider. So there's 5 grades then within the para dressage, from one kind of being the most disabled or like least able-bodied, and then up to 5. So when you're grade 5, you have one limb affected. So that would either mean one arm or one leg is affected by your disability. You basically don't have strength in it, or you're missing that arm or leg. So, and the tests that you write then at a grade 5 would be kind of between advanced medium and pre St. George. So it's kind of a very high level of movement within the dressage, or within the para dressage. But to be fair, when I first got classified, I wasn't even thinking about that. To think that I could even ride a normal
Yeah.
preliminary test was was a big thing. So yeah, so got classified, and I actually went and bought my first dressage horse, Sam, over in Denmark, and this was in 2019. So started doing the dressage with him, started doing the para dressage. He kind of taught me a lot, taught me how to sit trot. Even when I got him, sit and trot was thing. So it was all kind of a big learning curve. And I suppose the more I did and the more training I got, the more I realized that, okay, maybe a grade 5 test or advanced medium test is actually a possibility. So yeah, that was kind of, yeah, how I kind of got into it and how, yeah, we're kind of getting to here.
And you went and had your second daughter, Millie, who everyone fell in love with at Paris. Everybody saw the photographs, and she nearly became the story of the Paralympics from an Irish perspective. But 5 weeks after you have her, you had your first sit on Savona, which 5 weeks after perspective, after having a baby, to do anything, never mind sit on a horse and start maybe looking towards, I'm going to compete in the Paralympic Games, is not something that most people would take on. But you must have had a feeling that she was a special mare, and I need to get cracking here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. 100% had the feeling that she was a special mare. Like that, I was pregnant with Millie when my mom and my aunt went out and tried her in Denmark. So I hadn't even sat on her when she arrived into my sister Sophie's yard. She had the first sit on her actually. And she was like, I don't know about this now. She's a bit more hot and spicy than the last one. So yeah, like that, 5 weeks after I had Millie, it was just, I suppose like that, I had that drive. I felt this is a special mare. You know, we're into April. The season is very short. You know, you have championships in August, September. And really, to be fair, when I went out to sit on Savona for the first time, we were not thinking about the Europeans. It was just, okay, let's get to know her. Let's see what this like. Is it going to work? Because like that, I didn't have a clue. You know, when you try horses, and you have a disability, especially for the dressage horses, I'm very weak on my left side, and they're used to having, you know, a constant connection in both hands. And when all of a sudden they're missing that on one side, they get a bit confused and they don't understand it. And that's totally reasonable. So it does take a certain type of horse to be able to understand people's disabilities and just crack on with it. So yeah, I went out and sat on her, and yeah, it was definitely not the smoothest ride ever. I think you maybe don't realize like how much your body actually does go through when you're pregnant and when you have a baby. Like it does take its toll. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it. Sitting up on a horse at 5 weeks after, but I think when I do get something in my head, yeah, I just have to do it. I'm a bit stubborn like that. You can ask my husband Jonathan. I do think when I do get something in my head, kind of just say, okay, this is it. I'm doing it. And thankfully, it all worked out. Savona was incredible, as we had hoped she would be. And she understood my disability straight away, and it didn't bother her, and she just kind of got on with the job. And like that, went down to my trainer Nils then, who's also based out in the Netherlands. And yeah, he couldn't believe it. He just thought the whole partnership just looked incredible, like it had been there for years, that we just gelled so quickly together was amazing.
And you mentioned maybe a stubborn side. Everybody kind of knows you as this this beaming blonde who is just radiating exuberance the whole time. But to get to from 5 weeks post baby to a Europeans and Olympic Games, there has to be a certain steely determination, and like you mentioned, a bit of stubbornness. What kind of athlete would you kind of class yourself maybe as, or what? How would you describe yourself from that point of view? And how would Jonathan
Yeah,
describe you?
yeah. I think that's probably the better question. So it is. Um, God, it's actually really difficult because I listen. I'm a very positive person. I like to come across like that as well. But yeah, behind it all, I do have a serious drive. And maybe that comes from my dad, from my parents. I don't know. But it is like if you put your mind to something, if you want to do something, you have to put in the work. It's not just going to fall on your lap, or it's not just going to happen. And if you put in the work and you do really well, you will get rewarded for that, whether it's, you know, 6 months time, 2 years time. Sometimes it takes a lot longer to get the rewards. Um, but yeah, it is yeah, an internal drive, and probably just stubbornness. I really think I'm just really
Yeah.
stubborn, and I just say, listen, I'm going to do this now. And yeah, I just go and do it. And thankfully I do have the support of like that, my family, my husband, because you couldn't do it without support. With the 5-week-old baby traveling back and forth to the Netherlands, riding horses, competing internationally, it is difficult, as we're here, I suppose, for Women's Day. It is difficult for a woman to do everything, to have the family, to have the competition side. Yeah, it's not easy, so it's not.
And getting selected, and I suppose how that felt to be picked again. I'm going to the Paralympics here now.
Yeah,
Because
like
it's a very select few people who get to compete at this kind of event.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, I think until I actually got to Paris, I didn't realize that. Not that I didn't realize, but I think it's all, you're kind of chasing a goal all the time, and you're not actually thinking about what happens when you get there, or how it is such a special thing to go to something like the Paralympics. But like that, we had a special thing to go to some. But like that, we had Deborah as our high performance manager, and she was great because she was very informative. She told us exactly, this is exactly the competitions you need to go to, this is exactly what you need to do. And then basically the 4 people with the best scores will get selected for Paris. So it was all very transparent, very open, which made it a lot easier for us. So like that, we went out. We had a really good start to the season in Wagram. Over 68% in both of our tests, and then a 71% in our freestyle. And then we went to Hartbury, and again, I think we were third and second. So again, really good competition. And then we had our final test in Deurne in the Netherlands. And again, no, I can't remember what scores we got, but I think the first day, I think she was a bit tense, so she was. But then the second day, we got our scores up again. So like that, an easily laid out plan, but there was definitely kind of 6 to 8 of us athletes going for the 4 spots. So it wasn't obvious saying, okay, no, these 4 are definitely going. So it was always kind of, we were all kind of fighting tooth and nail for those places. So it was when I got the phone call then from Deborah and then Dara, who's over the Park Western Ireland, they called me. So I was still like, will I, won't I? Like, we were trying to figure it out.
So when the name comes up on the phone, this is
Yeah.
yes or no now. Oh God.
Exactly. And she was calling us all on the same day. So she gave us all times, like, okay, I'll call you at 9, I'll call you at 9:30. And then we're like trying to figure out who's she calling first, or where am I on the list.
And what does that
or,
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. But yeah, to get the phone call then and to tell her, like, or for her to tell us, was just like incredible. It was like all the hard work had paid off. And the sacrifices like that. I moved to the Netherlands for 6 months. I brought Millie with me. Jonathan and my older daughter Harlow then joined us for the summer. So it was big commitments that we did, and for them to pay off then in the end was just, yeah, incredible. And then to arrive down into Paris, into the athletes village, was like, yeah, something out of another world altogether. And to see, yeah, all the countries together, and yeah, just to see the village was amazing. Like you said, it's not everybody that gets to go into these places and see the kind of inner workings of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And then I suppose when you go in for familiarization, or the first time you arrive into that arena, because that arena was pretty incredible when you look down to the side and you've got the trees on either side, that body of water leading down to the Palace of Versailles. It must have been a bit of a kind of intake of breath. Okay, well, forget about this now. We've got a job to do, but this is still amazing.
Absolutely, like that.
This now.
The first day of the arena familiarization, you're kind of walking in beside the stands there, and it nearly feels like you were in an arena, or like a big stadium, because of the way the stands, even though it felt like, or looked like, you had a lot of space around you and it was very open. But I just think maybe it
They
was
were
the
quite high,
atmosphere.
weren't they? They were big,
Yeah,
high.
they were kind of straight up, and nearly kind of felt like they were in on top of you, but they weren't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, even when the stadium was empty, you could feel the atmosphere that was going to be there. You could feel like I don't know, the tension, the electricity in the air was already there. Like it was just incredible. And of course, like as a joke, we said, listen, even if it all goes, whatever, at least we'll have beautiful pictures at first at the end of the day.
Which
But
you did, in fairness.
thankfully, listen, we got the beautiful pictures and we got great results. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, like that, because we had walked the first day that we came to the stables when the horses arrived. Like we all ran down to the arena to see it. But like until you were kind of walking in there on your horse, like it was just yeah incredible. And I think even the people that were there watching said like it was just the whole thing was just amazing. Like they put on such a
Yeah.
show.
And I remember speaking to Deborah beforehand, and it was, what are the aims here? And it was, we want to have a top 10 finish. So you got that is just incredible from a team point of view. Before we even get onto your little roller coaster from
Yeah.
the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, to get that top 10 finish, and you're on a world stage. It's not the Europeans where you only have the European countries. You have every single
Yeah.
country in the whole world here. The Americans, everybody. So to get that top 10 finish was just incredible for us, and it definitely like competing as an individual is one thing, but when you're competing as a team, there definitely is more pressure on you because you don't want to be the one to let the team down. You want to be helping to carry the team to help get that score. So yeah, it was absolutely amazing to get that finish in the end. I think we were all just thrilled with it.
Yeah. And then the individual starts, and you were very happy with your first test, and it looked as though, oh, okay, I've just missed out on the final. I think you were ninth, weren't you?
Yeah.
Top eight qualify. And it's like, well, it's another top 10 finish. Fantastic. And at that point, my Paralympics are over. And then things change. Somebody is withdrawn, and you get parachuted into the final. And what time was it, or at what stage was it that you got that call to say, okay, head down to the stables and get yourself sorted because you're now performing freestyle
It was basically 2 hours before we had to be in the arena.
in the Olympics?
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And am I right in thinking you hadn't actually performed that routine?
No, 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 not at all. And only because of my mum Linda, because I had said, both me and my trainer had said, there's no way we're not getting into the freestyle final like that. If we finish top 10 as an individual again, we'll be absolutely delighted. To get top 8 to be in the freestyle is like an absolute, such a long shot. We said, no, we're not even going to waste our time on riding the freestyle. My mum was like, come on now. You need to just ride through it once and be done then. So we rode through it once at home with the music. It didn't go well. I wasn't very good at keeping in time with the music. Um, so yeah, so like that to be told then 2 hours before, and because I was reserve, I had to go in first. And so I was first rider in. So yeah, we had 2 hours to prepare. So like that, myself, my trainer Nils, Deborah, we sat down in the little tack room or the tack stable that we had in the stables in Versailles, and we're just watching this video that my mum had taken over and over again to make sure I had the music, the times, and be done then everything down as best I could be, and remember the test. It's not a
Yeah.
test I write often like that. So yeah, and then yeah, to go in then and finish then in seventh place, and to have such an incredible test and a personal best score.
Personal best.
Yeah, and actually to hit the music pretty straight on was was amazing. So it was yeah an absolute incredible fairy tale finish to what was already an amazing week, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose then, off the back of that, you've now received, you're the recipient of an award from the Irish horse world in the Irish field. How much of a surprise was that, and how much of a privilege nearly do you feel to be up there with some of the great names in the sport? And I know Michael had won it the year before off the back of
Yeah.
some stunning results. So it's kind of, no pressure, but the power team now need to do something again this year to pick up the
Yeah.
award now for next year. But it must have
Absolutely.
been, obviously the power stuff is a career high, but that must be up there with highlights.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like, to be fair, Abby Lyle had a great Paris Games as well, you know. So I, to be honest, I really didn't think that it was going to be me. It never actually came into my head. Because we have so many amazing dressage riders and para dressage riders. So yeah, so when I got the award, then it was absolutely incredible. And like that, I'm only the third ever para dressage rider to receive it in, I think, is it 27 years or something? It's been
Yeah,
going
I
a
think
long
so.
time, anyways. And like you said there, Michael received it last year, so we're on a roll now. So hopefully we can do the hat trick on it, and we'll get another para dressage rider to get it next year. Um, like, I really do think we have an amazing para dressage team, high performance team. So many great riders there, great horses coming up along. So I really think, yeah, the encouragement and the support needs to be there for the para dressage. So it was amazing to see that the Irish Horse World did that and gave the award to a para dressage rider.
And I guess the confidence you probably would take from Paris and the confidence you would take from receiving the award, you've brought that back into the arena with some nice results just last weekend in Doha. Give us a little insight into how that went.
Yeah, we got an invite to go to Doha, the three-star para dressage show there, at the end of January, which was, again, absolutely incredible. It's not everybody that gets to go, so to get the invite was amazing. And the show itself is incredible. Like I said to someone, it was nearly like a Paris 2.0, like the stadium, the way they have it set up. Like, it is just amazing. Like, as Paralympics riders, it's not often that we get to ride in such incredible environments. So to
And it
ride in
wasn't
there.
just a Paradise show, though. Sure, it wasn't.
No, no, like that, which is also another thing that I thought was amazing. We had the five-star dressage riders there, like that. Patrick Kittel was stabled across from us. We had Sandra from Poland, who was also there with her amazing horse Maxima Bella. Um, and then all the five-star show jumpers down another block January. You know, to have everybody there together at one competition was amazing. It also helped with the atmosphere, and even just to get to talking to other riders and, you know, and other grooms, and like, and everybody was
Yeah,
supporting each other. It was actually, the atmosphere there and the camaraderie was really, really nice. So it was. And yeah, we were got to do, on the first day we were just riding normally, so we got to actually ride in the outdoor stadium where they have the show jumping, which is incredible. And then, yeah, for the familiarization then and our test, then we were in the indoor, along with the other five-star dressage riders. Yeah, so the whole thing, the facilities, the stables, like, it is just an amazing place. And then, yeah, to get really good results there again, 3 days of third places was incredible. And it was our first kind of you know, to have everybody there together at one competition was amazing. It also helped with the atmosphere, and even just to get to talking to other riders and, you know, and other grooms, and like, and everybody was
yeah.
supporting each other. It was actually, the atmosphere there and the camaraderie was really, really nice. So it was. And yeah, we were got to do, on the first day we were just riding normally, so we got to actually ride in the outdoor stadium where they have the show jumping, which is incredible. And then, yeah, for the familiarization then and our test, then we were in the indoor, along with the other five-star dressage riders. Yeah, so the whole thing, the facilities, the stables, like, it is just an amazing place. And then, yeah, to get really good results there again, 3 days of third places was incredible. And it was our first kind of you know, to competition um since Paris. So yeah, it was kind of dusting off the boots and the helmet, and yeah, getting back
Yeah.
into the swing of things again, slowly but surely. Like that, not our best scores, but we were super, super happy for our first time back out again. It was really good.
And I suppose it opens up then the rest of the campaign, which will, I'm sure, build towards Ermello and the European Championships.
Yeah, again, like that, my husband Jonathan would be like, no, no.
Has
I
that house been
promised
built?
him.
I know you had mentioned before that you were
Yeah.
due to build a house and then Doha
This,
got in the way.
yeah, this bloody house. The poor man needs to be ordained as a saint now at this stage. Yeah, we are, like that, in the process of building a house, and anybody in Ireland knows it is not easy and it is not cheap
Oh,
to do a house at the moment. And it just takes time, whatever about the cost, you need to kind of be here and be on site and make sure everything gets done. So yeah, listen, never say never. I am hoping to get out kind of later in the summer, probably back over to the Netherlands, to Germany. There's a few internationals there in June, and do them, and hopefully do well enough to get a place on the European team. But like I said, we have so many really good power dressage riders at the moment. It is not a given that anybody makes it onto the team. So yeah, I'm going to lightly campaign in the background, and yeah, see how the next few months goes, and hopefully yeah, get out to the Netherlands in the summer and do a few internationals out there. And if we do well enough, yeah, it would be incredible to be on the European team. Like, I think every time you're on a championship team is just, it's another experience, it's another goal met, whether it's Europeans, Paralympics, the Worlds now in Atkin in 2026. Like, it's, all of them are special in their own way. And every time you're on a season to do it again. But yeah, we're focusing on the house. I'm not. We're staying on that track, so we are.
That's the official line, and you're sticking to it.
That is the official. That is the party line at the moment. The house first.
And he'll be watching, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks so much for joining me this morning. It's been a real pleasure, and I just want to extend my own congratulations and our congratulations from everyone at Horseboard Ireland. It's been a fantastic year and a half on everything you've done. As I said before, people fell in love with you in Paris, and yourself, Amelia and Jonathan, and the whole family. And it's a great story, and it's one that I think people will be inspired to listen to. So I really want to thank you for your time, and thank you for giving us all of the insight of what it takes to go from where you were to where you've been. And it's really a fantastic story.
Yeah, no, and thanks so much for having me on, Ian. Like, it's always great to get an opportunity to come on and talk about it, and like that, hopefully inspire others, or just tell people what para dressage is about. You know, it is an elite sport now, and it's not just having fun on your ponies. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and yeah, the more we can get it out there, I think the better. So it'd be great. So thanks for having me on.
And it is a case, it gets thrown around a lot. What anything you put your mind to, you can do, but you really can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Living proof.
And like, yeah, and like I said before, it might not happen in the first 6 months. Like, I started this in 2019. I didn't get on a team for Tokyo. I didn't get on a team for the Worlds in Herning. It took time, and yet then I got Savona, and it kind of all fell into place then, and the hard work started paying off. So I think sometimes, yeah, people can look and only see success, but there is a lot that goes on in the background, and a lot of work and sacrifices that happen as well. So yeah, no.
Yeah, so don't give up, I think is
probably definitely not.
Well, listen, thanks so much again for joining us, and I'm sure people will be really intrigued to hear the story and get that message across. So really appreciate your time.
No, thanks a million. Thanks for having me on, Ian.
Thanks a million.